I just want to say to all those out there, and certainly those that are going to watch the video, thank you for your service. I've been, humbled to be a part of 100 entrepreneurs for probably the last 10 years, and I've probably skipped a year or two here and there, but I'm really, really happy to be back. Love the fact that we've been able to take this virtually, post COVID and things like that. So, I do want to start with a quote, and I think I've done this before. It's one of my favorite quotes. It's all around my house. It's tattooed on the inside of my arm, and I'm drilling it into my 6 and 8 year old kid. And the quote is: "The dream is free. The hustle is sold separately." And so, if you just let that sink in for a minute, and I'll say it again: the dream is free, the hustle is sold separately. I think anybody has the right and the ability to dream and dream big. And I think people, whether it's kids, adults, seniors, everybody should be able to dream big. But you can't get anywhere in solving those dreams if you don't hustle. And I think 21 years in my business, I think I'm a living proof that the hustle is always needed, and I'm constantly hustling, and I do have days that I don't want to hustle, but the hustle is there, and so I'd like to start with that because that's very near and dear to my heart. Quickly, my company is Paradyme Management. So I worked for a management consulting firm right out of college, and I was posted on a project for Aon Insurance. I was 21 years old. I worked at Aon for a couple of years through this management consulting firm. I worked on the 92nd floor of the North Tower of the World Trade Center. I was transferred August 27th, 2001. The company that I was with was 120 people, smaller than the company that I run now, and 30 of my colleagues, managers, friends, people that were my mentors passed away on September 11th. 387 people from Aon, folks that I had got coffee with, water cooler conversation. I trained, also perished that day on September 11th. So at 23 years old, when that happens, and you're just kind of like, holy crap, like, there's a lot of thoughts that go through my head. But what really gave me the kick in the pants to start my company, I come from a family of entrepreneurs, was realizing that life is really short, and I absolutely could have, should have been one of those 30 people of my company that, pressed their face against the glass and listened to the loudspeaker saying, "Hey, stay still. We don't know what's going on." So that was 2001. It took me a little while to get my act together. And in December 31st, 2003, I incorporated, and I wanted to become a management consultant at 23 years old. Nobody really wants to buy management consulting services from a 23-year-old, but you try and you do the best that you can. And I was at DC government, and I think the biggest thing for me was I listened a lot more than I talked, and that was in the client world. I certainly, thinking back to being 23 and being the CEO. And as my brother would remind me, I was the CEO of one, but I still had a big head, right? Because I had this CEO title. And quite frankly, we started doing program management services and things of that nature. And I quickly realized that I could not sell program management and strategy consulting. It just, I was too young and did not have a brand behind me. So IT was kind of the logical step, because it was very, ones and zeros, yes and nos. This either works or it doesn't work. Whereas strategy and management consulting is more kind of philosophical, right? I started to get into the IT world. Shortly after I started my company, I brought on a partner who had his own small technology company, and he did not have sort of the extroverted attitude that I did. So he was kind of looking for somebody to be the face. I needed somebody that knew how to program. So we kind of came together under the name Paradyme Management. We kept that. And we started doing services that we still do now. So we were doing software development, data analytics, data integration. Obviously, cloud wasn't a thing back then, but those three things. So everything that dealt with data, we started with DC government, actually, the District of Columbia government. I got to tell you, local and state government is like it's like t-ball compared to the federal government, and I don't mean that in a mean way. I just mean that things are just not as tick and tied as the federal government. So, keeping with the services that we did, we still do a lot of those services now, and I'll get to that. But in 2011, sort of after the 2009 2010 financial crisis, we realized that we were doing like we were putting in a ton of work for a very very small amount of money. We were pushing $50,000 contracts that were 6 month contract, and it just did not make sense for the amount of time and energy we were putting in. So we started looking at how the federal government would work. And in 2013, we got our first break where we were a subcontractor to US courts. And we were doing software development for PeopleSoft. I'm not going to go through the whole timeline, but where we are now in 2024, I have 350 employees. We are a full federal government contractor. We work mostly on the civilian side, the State Department, the Census Bureau. We started to do a lot of national security work. So the FBI, Department of Justice, Homeland Security, and then the other side that we've started to dip our toes into is really the intel. So the three-letter agencies like NSA, NRO, and the agency. And I can tell you that the national security portfolio, the executive sponsor is me. I actually just an hour ago flew back from Huntsville, Alabama. We won an FBI contract, and the mission for me has you fast forward from what happened in 2001 and being 23 years old and realizing that my life could have been over and I wouldn't have the kids and the house and the family that I do. That mission centric piece is become a really really big part of me. So when I say thank you for your service, I absolutely mean it, but it means a lot, because we've been doing work with folks in the FBI and DOJ, and it's just it's profound what those folks have done for the country and are doing for the country. We are doing software development, so we developed the overseas personnel system for the State Department. So every foreign service officer that lives abroad and has to put in their information and their partner's information and their kids' information, we built that overseas personnel system. So that's our software development. You talk about data integration, data sharing, data analytics. So for the Census Bureau, they do a decennial every 10 years where they tell you, they ask you how many bathrooms you have and how many people live in your house. They have over 100 systems that did not talk to each other. We were responsible for taking all those systems, one, into the cloud before 2020, and then two, making sure that those systems talk to each other to the point that if Bob filled out his survey on the computer and an enumerator was walking to your house, that enumerator would get a message saying, whoa, 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 you don't need to go to Bob's house. He just filled it out online. So that's something that we introduced in 2020, which again, that's huge when you think about efficiencies. So the Terrorist Screening Center, which is part of the FBI and actually runs the no-fly list. We don't have access to the no-fly list, so no, I cannot tell you if you are on the list or not. But what we do is we make sure that information is shared with Interpol, the agency, and things like that. So you talk about like this is real, live, life-saving national security stuff that, again, we're not putting the names on there, but we are helping share that information. And then the last piece that has really, really picked up for us has been our AI piece, and AI is something that is very much used in the commercial space and the private sector. The government is still a little timid on what AI is going to look like. So generative AI, which is what you can type into ChatGPT and say, hey, I want a picture of a cat riding a fire truck, that'll come out. Or you can say, hey, I'm going to Milan, Italy, and I'm a vegetarian. Can you please give me a 7-day recommendation for where I should eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner? So those types of generative AI pieces are things that we've started to do. So we've partnered with a company, C3 AI, and we have work at some federal agencies, including NSA, NRO, the CIA, Air Force, Army, and we are very, very close to pushing a pilot into the FBI. So we are not doing anything for the VA yet. The VA is actually not that easy to break into, especially if you're not a service disabled veteran company, which we are not. We are absolutely hiring veterans. We've hired. We run the FBI help desk down in Huntsville, and I got 50 young 23 to 26-year olds that are reservists that have just finished their duty. So we're always hiring veterans. We're always hiring folks that have come out of the military. The only piece for us is you need to be clearable, right? If you don't already have a clearance, I mean, we're looking at secret, top secret, FBI, poly. Those are the types of folks that we're hiring. What I do want to say is, listen, I know what I said sounds like roses, and it sounds like my company has just been on the up and up and up and up and up. It has not all been roses. It is not roses every day. I think for those of you out there that are looking to start a business or want to start a business, I fully support that. I think it is one of the best things that you can possibly do, but you got to take that risk. You got to take that first step. And I got to tell you, I have been through so many sort of roller coasters. I mean, I can tell you, 2021, we had one of the best years that we've ever had. 2022 and 2023, most of our census contracts, which made up probably 75% of our revenue at that point, were protested. I had 50 people that weren't billable, and because we're a people first company, we paid those people and they sat on our bench for over 6 months. And I'm talking about, we lost probably $4 to $6 million in revenue, but then also, in revenue, but then also we were paying these folks. And this happened in September of 2022. And I remember I got on a video call like this. We call them town halls, and people were like, am I going to have to worry for the holidays? Like, Thanksgiving is, in a couple months. And I said no. And you don't have to worry about Christmas, and you don't have to worry about New Year's, because we're going to pay for you. And I would do that 150 times over if I had that decision again. But I can tell you, it put me in a really, really dark place. I mean, the company went from being phenomenal, where we were able to afford, making investments and things like that, to a place where each month was like, holy cow, like how did we go from being a 70-80 million dollar company to a place where now we gotta look at, like, can we afford this, can we not? And again, we're a people first company, so the decision was easy. But now looking back, and we're well out of it. We won the protest, and the people are back to work, and we're totally fine now. But I share that because I don't want anybody to take the first 15 minutes of what I talked about and think that it is all green and it is all roses, because it's not. And I certainly believe that, entrepreneurs have a different, they're just different, right? They have a different way to them. They have a different opportunity sort of zone of how they look at things. But most of it, I've been dreaming to do something big my entire life, and I can't just sit on the couch and dream. And so I wake up every day, and some days are harder than others, but the hustle is there. The hustle is strong in my heart, because I know I want to make a difference. And it's not about the money. It was so about the money for the first couple years, because I came from nothing, and I wanted to make something of myself. And I thought that money was the right answer, and it wasn't. So for me now, it's paying it forward. It's making sure that I could take a 25-year-old vet who I just saw in Huntsville, who lost his friend to suicide, and just keep him going and keep him focused, and know that he has a job,